Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Oregon Wine Month 2020 webinar. We're going to get started. Thanks for joining us today. Just a couple quick notes on housekeeping. If you haven't attended a webinar with us in the past, note that everyone's on mute. So if you have to ask a question, you can do so in the question using the question tool in the taskbar, and we'll be monitoring those questions as they come through. The recording of this webinar and all of the resources that we're going to be talking about today will be when they're done, we'll put them up on the industry website, and we'll also be sending them out via email for you to review and to share with your colleagues. So please keep an eye out on that, and just don't forget about the industry website. So I'm Christina DeArmond, and I'm with my colleague Kai here. Can you turn your sound off? Yes. So I'm the manager of trade education and relations, and Kai is our manager of consumer relations and marketing. So today we're going to talk about Oregon Wine Month. We're going to talk about the POS that's available for you to use. We're going to talk about restaurant and retail programming available. We have a trade and sales rep online training coming up starting in March. We're going to talk about the media plan, consumer promotions, all of the things, and there'll be time for you to ask questions at the end. So let's dive in. Before we get started, the most important takeaway from this webinar is that all of these resources, everything that you need to get started on Oregon Wine Month, is available on the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit. So if you navigate to industry.oregonwine.org and navigate under that marketing section to Oregon Wine Month, you'll find the toolkit. And on that toolkit, you'll find all of the resources we're going to talk about. So that's really the most important takeaway from today. But please stay with us because we have a couple more things to talk about as well. So what is Oregon Wine Month? If you've never participated in Oregon Wine Month, or maybe you're new to your organization, Oregon Wine Month is every May since 2012, and it's a project that's led by the Oregon Wine Board. And you may be thinking, gee, every day is Oregon Wine Month. Why would I need a month? Unfortunately, not everyone across the country thinks about Oregon Wine Month every day. So we have designated May as a month that is all things Oregon. We use this month as an opportunity to increase support from distributors, restaurants, and retailers across the country with programming and special initiatives. We use this month as a platform for tactical winery promotions and to just make sure that we're top of mind for consumers and giving them an opportunity to engage with our brand and our amazing wines that are made in the state. So one big element of Oregon Wine Month that we offer every year is point of sale. So our point of sales materials are printed and shipped to any distributor partner across the country who wants them, and as well as tasting room, Oregon winery tasting rooms across the state. So the deadline to order POS is March 2nd. The POS will be printed and shipped and will be delivered by April 1st. So for distributors, they're able to navigate onto the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit to place their order. For tasting rooms, you're able to order 1 or 2 kits that we can send out. Each kit includes 3 posters, 8 bottleneckers, and 4 table tents. So you can order 1 or 2 of those kits for your tasting room. Again, very important, the deadline for that is quickly approaching. That's March 2nd. So we will also have all of those files available for download if you want to print your own or use those files to maybe tweak to add your own logo. All of that is allowed and encouraged. So all of those files are on the toolkit now, and you can start working on that. So let's see what they actually look like. So we're offering posters and case cards. These are really, we have a couple of different options. We have beautiful photographic style. That middle poster we're working on finalizing. We're going to be using a different picture this year, so we'll be releasing that in a couple weeks, but same concept. These look great, on the walls of your tasting room. We also use them for chain retailers. They look great on case stacks, and we see a lot of them in bathrooms. I'm not sure. Seems like a great way to capture people's attention. So those are really beautiful. We have neck hangers being made as well. So there's front and back. They have like a little elastic tag that you can put around the neck of a bottle. We have SKEWCARD little card things. They're 4 1/4 by 5 in dimension. We're going to be updating those this year with new statistics, so you can see to the right that graphic what they've looked like in the past. So they're designed for retailers to put on SKEWCARDS and kind of decorate case displays, but we've seen these used in a lot of different ways. Again, these graphics are downloadable from the toolkit, so they're a great size for social media. If you want to just have a stack on if you want to have like a printed stack on your counter, they're great for that. You can use them for a lot of different purposes. And we'll be updating those statistics. Those will be available on the toolkit in a couple weeks. We're offering shelf talkers. So these have a self-stick adhesive that you can, stick to a shelf. So there's 2 different styles of those. Table tents. So you'll be receiving a couple of these in your. You'll be receiving 4 or 5, whatever I said earlier. Let's see here. You'll be receiving 4 of these in your tasting room kit. They're great for counters, tables. We also make them available for restaurants and retailers as well. So I mentioned that we have all of these POS files on the toolkit. This is an example of a file that we are not printing, but you're able to download from the toolkit and customize yourself. So this is like a menu template. You can put your tasting slate on there for the month. You can pitch this to restaurants who are offering special by the glass programming featuring your wines. There's really a lot of different ways you can use this. Again, you can download this now or anytime from the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit and start customizing. This is another file that we're not printing, but you're able to download from the toolkit. This is for check presenter inserts. If you're working with a restaurant partner, sometimes those are nice to, kind of slip in when you're, providing a guest with a check. I guess you could also use these in tasting rooms as well. The SKEWCARD they're a similar size, and they could also be used for that purpose. So again, tasting rooms have the opportunity to order 1 or 2 kits, and a kit includes 3 posters, 8 bottleneckers, and 4 table tents. So make sure that you place that order by March 2nd. Place it as soon as possible. And all of that POS will be printed and shipped by April 1st. That March 2nd deadline is also for distributors. So any distributor partner that you have across the state is welcome to place an order, and we will ship that to them by the beginning of April. So now my colleague Kai is going to talk a little bit about the consumer elements we have going on for Oregon Wine Month.
Good morning, all, and thank you, Christina. So as just mentioned, I'm going to share our consumer programming, show you a few examples from years past, and detail the messaging strategy so you can get a sense of what elements and what channels might be most appropriate for your business this year. The Oregon Wine Board consumer website experiences its highest traffic in April and May, and the event calendar is second in traffic only to the sweepstakes that we run throughout Wine Month. In addition to the organic traffic, we are also driving a significant amount of paid traffic to the calendar, as it's sort of the principal call to action throughout the month for our consumer audience. As Christina mentioned, we sometimes hear that every month is Wine Month and not just May, but it's certainly true that we are shining an extra spotlight on the industry throughout May, and the program aims to generate paid awareness about the promotion and your calendar listings. So please contribute your tasting room events, encourage any of your accounts or partners to do the same. If you've got wine in a restaurant that has an opportunity, retail, distribution, etc., any consumer-facing, wine-focused event is welcome on this calendar. Listings are, of course, always free, and if you're participating in any Memorial Day weekend festivities, we would also love to make sure those are captured here as well.
And so these are for one-time events. If you work with a restaurant or a retailer that is offering something for the month, for the entire month, that will be housed on a different page, and we'll talk about that in a second. So this is for like a one-time wine dinner or, you know, a band, like a concert.
Yeah, they can be repeating every Thursday in May or Friday, Saturday, Sunday of a particular weekend, etc. But the distinction, which is an important one that Christine is making, is if, for example, a restaurant account of yours is running a wine flight May 1st to May 31st, then this is not the appropriate place for that information because it doesn't display correctly on the calendar. So to submit a calendar event, please, they're submitted through the industry website. Everything that we provide for the industry and all the tasks that we ask of you when we do, etc., are all found on industry.oregonwine.org. There's also a link within the toolkit that Christina has already described, but year-round you can find the consumer calendar submission link on the industry homepage, which is what you're looking at there on this slide. Under News and Events, top right, you'll see Post to Consumer Events Calendar. Actually, I'm just realizing that this image is like a little out of date. It's in the same place, but it simply says Calendar now. It's pretty obvious. You'll see an option for Calendar. Click it, and you'll be able to choose whether you are adding to the consumer calendar or industry calendar.
And that calendar, those events can be contributed all year round. So, you know, send us your May events, but also your July events.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just a few quick tips for event listing best practice. I've found over the years that it's obvious to you and your staff who are submitting the event where the event is and who is the event principal and producer, i.e. your winery, but it's not always so clear in the listing. So I strongly encourage you to include your winery name in the headline of the event, which is not always done. And if possible, include a relevant picture. It just makes the link a little more attracting and helps describe to the viewer what they're expecting. And what you see here on the screen, there's a section for event categories when you're submitting your listing. If you just start typing, that field will start to pre-populate with existing options, one of them being Wine Month. Please add Wine Month there. for both us and users to track. So moving on, as mentioned at the top of the hour, we also run a consumer sweepstakes throughout May, or throughout Oregon Wine Month, to support consumer awareness nationally. The sweepstakes is included in our paid digital campaign and allows us to offer Wine Month to consumers outside of the Pacific Northwest, capture email leads, and it's an easy way to leverage a value add program for anyone who's promoting Wine Month. As in years past, the grand prize will feature airfare for two to Oregon, of course, wine tasting and education experiences, and a restaurant supportive of Oregon's industry at a minimum. The details of the sweepstakes in particular this year are still being finalized, but when complete, they will be added, as with all things, to the toolkit online. So there'll be some sample language, some sample graphics, the link for folks to enter, and so on. Last year's sweepstakes added more than 5,000 consumers to our communications database and countless more to our social channels. The sweeps will run late March through May 31st, and again, is an easy way to offer a value-added opportunity to your followers. So let's take a look at the messaging sequence that we will use to promote these consumer elements. The campaign will start in late March, seeding the idea of Wine Month and building some momentum for Brand Oregon. We'll introduce the sweepstakes and have a general uptick in publishing frequency. Moving into April, we'll move on to a bit of inspiration, inviting people to think about visiting wine country with mentions of our Oregon Wine Touring Guide, as well as our online trip planning tool at visit.oregonwine.org. And in mid to late April, we'll move more regularly into the event and calendar opportunities. By May, we'll be focusing directly on what's happening in wine regions and restaurants around the state to get people out to drink your wine. This will be, of course, the heaviest period, both for paid and owned messaging. And last, we aim to keep the conversation going a bit by messaging the contacts we have captured throughout the campaign.
So this is our messaging sequence, but this could also be yours. You too could have this messaging sequence. May is not just Oregon Wine Month is not just May. You know, start thinking about how you can use this program to engage your database now and, you know, through the summer.
And certainly we see that visitation to Oregon's various regions obviously varies by a significant number of inputs, but May was originally chosen as Oregon Wine Month for a host of reasons, but certainly not the least of them was it was a sort of great time to really start reminding people and pushing people to come visit wine country as spring starts to break and the weather improves and so on. So we, as you can see, have a messaging sequence that sort of ramps up to that more congested or more popular visitation season, and certainly invite you to consider what makes the most sense for the visitor sequence and visitor flow that you're used to seeing and how that overlays with your calendar. So we will share those messages using various bullhorns for premium wine consumers and wine and culinary focused travelers throughout Oregon, and to some degree in the Seattle metro area. The exact outlets of our media plan are still being reviewed and confirmed, but we've worked with most of the outlets and publications in the area who speak to the audiences we're seeking and have many years of historical data to refine our efforts and results. We, of course, utilize our own social feeds, consumer network, and are happy to partner every year with Travel Oregon on Oregon Wine Month messaging to speak to their audience of pre-qualified visitors, as well as tap into their influencer network. So we do all these things. We write all these messages, we build all these ads, we share all these promotions to drive people to our Oregon Wine Month campaign hub at OregonWineMonth.org. Because once here, those viewers and visitors can see what opportunities exist throughout the state, whether it's in restaurants nearby or tasting rooms, to get out and have an Oregon wine trial experience, to drink a glass of wine. So now that we've seen what's sort of planned on our end, just wanted to show a few quick examples that Christina had also touched on of ways that folks have used messaging provided through messaging and assets provided by the Wine Board. So again, to intentionally sound like a broken record, all of these assets are available on the toolkit, industry.oregonwine.org. It has POS files that Christina already outlined for print. So sorry, let me clarify. Order professionally printed kits by March 2nd, but all of the files that we showed you and more are on the industry toolkit and are designed in PDFs to be printed by you in the tasting room, at home, etc. If you have any additional needs or one-off cases. There are customizable templates in both PowerPoint and PDF formats online, and images for social media and logos for most any application. What we're looking at here on the left, we see a recipe put together by the folks out at Cathedral Ridge with a suggested wine pairing on one of those customizable menu templates. And of course, on the right, the very well-known Taste Dundee using both language and logo to co-brand that event as a Wine Month activation. And really quickly, I know you're all very familiar with the possibilities here. Social is, for many, the easiest and maybe most efficient way to connect with your audience. The toolkit, again, has graphics for immediate use and tools for customization. Please don't forget to hashtag both the program and the Wine Board, so hashtag Oregon Wine Month, and our year-round hashtag is simply Oregon Wine. It's worth repeating that all of these visual instances add up to awareness for the program and act as a bullhorn for the start of the tourism season. So, in review, what can you do? You can order POS material for your tasting room by March 2nd. As Christina mentioned, those are in kits of 3 posters. That's a combination of both photo and graphic posters, depending on what's best for your space, table tents, and bottleneckers. You can start planning a special event for your wine club members, a promotion for your mailing list, or an event in your tasting room. Please do share any tasting room events with our consumer calendar. Tell your mailing list that Oregon Wine Month is coming and incentivize them to get activated in May. Once released, please share the sweepstakes opportunity. Christina will touch a bit more about restaurant accounts in just a moment. And certainly last but not least, hashtag Oregon Wine Month on your posts throughout the month.
And hashtag Oregon Wine.
And hashtag
all the
Oregon
time.
Wine.
Thank you, Kai.
You're welcome.
So we're gonna switch gears a little bit to talk about wholesale channels throughout the country. Actually, it looks like we have a question. Let's see before we move on. Oh, hey Dawn, welcome. So Dawn's wondering if we're doing a Oregon Wine Trail event in May again, and we are doing 2 Oregon Wine Trail events to celebrate Oregon Wine Month. This year they're going to be in Seattle and San Francisco. So Dawn, unfortunately, we're not going to LA or San Diego this year, but we'll definitely keep that in mind in the future, and hopefully you'll come visit us in San Francisco. It's not too far. Thanks for attending the webinar. So we're going to switch gears and talk about our wholesale programming available throughout the country for May. The Oregon Wine Board is, again, offering a distributor package. That package includes a handful of elements to help you work with your distributor partners, or if you're a distributor, can help you pitch Oregon Wine Month to your accounts. So available in that package, we have the Oregon Wine Month Trade Overview. This is a PowerPoint presentation with many of the same slides that we're going to go over coming up. And that presentation is available for download on the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit. But that presentation is locked and loaded for you to take it out to start selling. You can customize it and add your own slides as well. So that's a deck that's going to highlight all the things I'm going to talk about. We're also offering the Learn Oregon online training. Again, we offered it for the first time last year, and it was wildly successful. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple slides from now. As I mentioned earlier, we're offering POS to any distributor that wants printed and shipped POS. They must place the order by March 2nd. So if you're a distributor, keep that date in mind. If you're a winery, make sure to communicate that to your distributor partners. Those graphics will be delivered by the beginning of April. And we also have a slew of digital graphics on our toolkit that we encourage you to download and to customize. We're happy if you want to add logos to posters and things like that. You're welcome to do that with the graphics that we have on the toolkit. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more. We are offering a restaurant program as we have in the past. I created this handy 5 ways to get your restaurant involved in Oregon Wine Month sell sheet. So that is available on the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit. It's a PDF that you can download and print to share with your accounts, whether you're a winery or distributor. One special programming feature that we're going to offer for restaurants, again, is any restaurant that signs up to offer a flight of 3 Oregon wines throughout the month of May will be promoted on the Oregon Wine Board's website and through our digital channels. So we've had over 100 accounts participate in this every year. And it's really cool to just see, what wine stewards, what sommeliers choose as their, 3 exciting Oregon wines that they want to showcase in a flight. We've seen restaurants rotate those flights. We've seen them highlight a different producer every week, and maybe they have the producer in for a happy hour or a wine dinner. And so there's a lot of ways you can get creative with that. And if they decide that they do want to feature a flight throughout the month of May, they just need to fill out a form. And that, again, is on the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit. So as I mentioned, we're offering the Learn Oregon online training program again. Last year, we had over 2,000 people sign up for this across the country. It was far more successful than I expected it, to be honest. We were around this time last year gearing up for it to start in March 1st, and we were at, a few hundred people signed up, and I was excited about that. And I told my boss, Tom, I was like, Tom, we have a few hundred people signed up for Learn Oregon. And he's like, great, let's make it 1,000. And I was like, oh, I don't know if we'll get 1,000. But sure enough, we had 2,000 people sign up. So I got a nice pat on the back last year. But anyway, Learn Oregon is awesome. It's a program that was designed by Bree Stock, the Master of Wine that we have here at the Oregon Wine Board. And it's a 4-week program designed to introduce anyone who sells Oregon wine to introduce them to the basics about our region and our wines. So each week has a different topic, and attendees will receive 2 emails every week on that topic. So they'll get an overview on Monday, and in that overview, it'll ask a couple critical thinking questions that they're asked to answer by the end of the week. So this is just through email, but it features multimedia. We have video, presentations, maps, and graphics, and it's really engaging, and it's just a really low It does not require a lot of time. Users reported spending 10 to 20 minutes each week on this, so it's a low commitment and just a really great way to introduce distributor sales reps, your own winery sales reps, on-premise, off-premise sales folks, anyone on the front line selling Oregon wine. It's a great introduction. So make sure that will start on March 2nd. So please have your staff, anyone, sign up by March 1st, and we'll get them included in that programming. And you can sign up on the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit. So, quick review of what you can do now to engage the trade in Oregon Wine Month. So, number one, you're going to hear this deadline a million times, but please share the POS order form with your distributor, and that's found on the toolkit. The deadline, again, is March 2nd. Plan a sales goal for your distributor for the month of May, or just generally the second quarter. A lot of distributors that I've spoken to over the years have found a lot of success in running Oregon Wine Month from April through June. It's really, when you get into the wholesale world, it's really a 3-month program minimum to start selling those into retailers and restaurants. So start talking to your distributor now and see if you can get a sales goal set up. Pitch a flight of your wine to a restaurant. We all have friends in the restaurant industry around Oregon and across the country. So shoot them an email, shoot them that sell sheet that is on the toolkit, and pitch them a flight. And we'll promote them on our website. Invite all of your trade contacts, restaurants, retailers, distributors to sign up for Learn Oregon, the online training. Your staff is also welcome to sign up as well. And, get on scheduling tastings at retail outlets. There's a lot of really great independent retailers in Oregon that have winemakers in every week during Oregon Wine Month. Total Wine as well across the country has a sign up right now to bring in Oregon producers during May to pour their wines. So you can find out more about the Total Wine retail opportunity on the toolkit and everything else. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about the toolkit, but this is the toolkit, guys. This is where you can get literally everything.
Hey, Christina, if I was looking for some of this material, where could I find it?
I don't know. Where is it? On the toolkit. So I think you can just go to the toolkit and use it as your to-do list, scroll through, see what's available, and see what you wanna act on. So that's all, folks.
I think the total line opportunity bears just a little bit of repetition and underscoring. That opportunity exists for anybody with product in Total Wine around the country. If you're going to be in Oregon, if you happen to be traveling throughout May, find out if there's a Total Wine nearby your destination and shoot them an email and see if you can pop in and share your wine in that market. There are how many locations?
You can shoot them an email, but you really just have to fill out a form.
Okay, yeah.
Like you can't just shoot them an email. But I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. But if you want to sign up to support their location, there's a form on the toolkit that you can fill out, and they'll be in touch with you.
Great, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Let's shoot them an email too. So does anybody have any questions that we can touch on?
Is it possible we were so incredibly thorough that not one question has been generated?
I think it's possible some people aren't. But we won't call those people out. Shirley Brooks joined us today. Hey, Shirley. Okay, so we will be following up in an email with a link to this kind of scrappy, admittedly, webinar that we put on today, a link to the toolkit and other resources that we mentioned. We did have a question come in. Where can we find the trade presentation? Kai, where can we find? I think that's on the Oregon Wine Month Toolkit. Sorry to be smart. So we'll be sending a link out to that toolkit. You can find the trade presentation, the POS files, all the forms we mentioned, the links and the forms and the graphics and the...
Hopefully you're used to visiting industry.organdwine.org, and if so, under the Marketing Navigation tab, you would find toolkits for all of the OWB programs. But I also dropped that link into the chat window here in the webinar tool panel. So if you have the chat window open, you should also be able to just click on that industry.organdwine link.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, we got one more question.
Shirley says hi back. Hi, Shirley. Jenny is looking specifically for the trade presentation. Absolutely, Jenny. We would be happy to do that. We will shoot you an email at DV Wine Partners. That sounds great. Thanks for looking, and sorry if that was causing you any frustration.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Happy Wine Month planning.